Honda project. It's the Xr100. If you watched my last video, I actually was going over this problem with the head gasket. And then I mentioned to you guys that I had a ticking problem. If you guys also watched the video on this one when I got it up and running, then you could hear that ticking. So I was tearing into it. I took the studs off. You can see they're down there, because the only other way to remove the head is to drop the engine if you don't take the studs off. So I took those off, and then before I did anything, the first thing I checked was the clearances, and those were good. But then I noticed that this chain was like wicked loose. Then I just like looked back, and there's so much slack right there. See that? Hopefully you guys could see that. So that means that the chain is not tightening. You can see this is tightened all the way. Adjustment, I adjusted this, and still no tension on it. And it's kind of weird because I could have swore that I had tension on it before. So now I'm wondering if that chain guide kind of let go, because there's a spring on it, and it could have let go, and it could be just flopping around in there. Because I know I had tension on this before, so it's just a bit weird. We're gonna get this head off, and I also have to fix another problem. We have a leaking exhaust seal, and it's not what you think. So when I bought this head, it was actually hacked up. The exhaust side seal was messed up, like it was grinded down, like something happened to it before. So the intake seal is good, but the exhaust seal is just leaking, and it's hard for this thing to rev out because it's spitting out oil. So I'm gonna try to grind that down more, see if I can get that seal to fit on more. I'll show you guys after, but that seal is like, it's too small for the fitting because the guy messed up the fitting. So it's just a thing to keep an eye out for when you're buying used parts. Make sure to look at everything over, because when I bought this head, I don't think, actually it might not have even been in a picture, but this exhaust fitting for the seal, which I'll show you, is so hacked up. So hopefully I can get that to work. I don't want to have to buy another head. That would absolutely suck. So just to show you guys how little tension this has, when you have a chain and you have tension on it, it's usually going to bring the cam up like this at this position, since we don't have it in the journal. And you can just see there's no tension on this whatsoever, because I can move this cam wherever I want. So yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna have to keep tearing into it. All right, here's where it gets crazy. So the head gasket's leaking. It looks like it's got oil on it. So this looks like it's gonna be the problem here. So if you can see that chain guide right there, this one right here, there's supposed to, let's see, there's supposed to be a spring in there. See that spring at the bottom? It's supposed to be all the way up here in that little spot right there, and it's all the way down there. So that means the spring popped out of place. I'll show you guys a diagram just to see what that looks like. This is the head right here. You can see there's obviously oil getting into the cylinder. So much of it. And this is not from the rings, because the rings were brand new. The piston's brand new. But this is actually from the exhaust seal right here, which I'm going to take apart and show you guys just how hacked up it is. All right, so back to the head gasket. We're just gonna go over this real quick. And you can see there's definitely oil on that and around that. So that's culprit number one, into the spitting out oil problem. Number two, which I thought was the exhaust seal, but it's actually the intake seal. And that's messed up. So you can see this is the exhaust seal. That's how the fitting is supposed to look. And then you come over to the intake side. You can see that's been messed with, and it is not correct at all. So I tried, when I got this head, I tried to put the seal on thinking that it would work, but actually it's too big for it. I'm gonna put it back on just so you guys can see. it is nowhere close to like seating in there as it should. The seal over here seats perfectly. It sits far enough down to the point where it actually seals, whereas this one I can just pull it off with my hands. So the problem with that not sealing is oil is going to come down into here, and then it's going to burn it, and then it's just going to shoot it out the exhaust because there's no other place for it to go. So, and you can see that nipple right there, that's like a perfect fitting. And then you come over here, this is like a rounded, I don't even know. So that's just something to keep in note when you're buying heads, parts, used parts from eBay. You never know what people do to them. So coming to one of our first and worst problems, that is going to be the intake valve seal fitting. And you can see just how bad I went over, and I showed you guys how bad. So that's the good one and that's the bad one. And just like how it's not sitting fully down and how it's gonna affect it. So that's our first problem. And this is actually my old head. I'll show you guys. This is the intake port, and this is how it should look. There's no problem with that. That's how they're supposed to be. Then you come back over to this one, and it's like a cone shape, and it's not gonna work. So if you guys have any tips for that, let me know, so I could kind of figure out what to do, because this is gonna be the tricky part. Finding out a way to get that seal to fit fully down is gonna be the hardest part. Moving on to that second problem that we had. See, it's right all the way down there, and it should be right up here. So those are our two problems, and then obviously that last problem is the head gasket leaking. Alright guys, I just took the Honda apart, and I think I found the problem for the ticking. So I put this back in this place, this little spring that I said was out of place before. I put that back into place, and it kept ticking. So I'm pretty sure this was facing the wrong way, which could be the problem. So here's a little hint to figure out why. You could see that there's like, I think that's like oil, just markings on the back or whatever. And you can see there's kind of marks of like the chain or something. It doesn't look right. And when you come back to this one, you can see that the back is actually brown, just like this one here. So you can see that's brown, and it was actually facing this way, which I think is the wrong way. So I think I'm gonna try to flip this and have it this way, which I think is the correct way. I don't know why it was installed like this, but so I'm gonna put it in this way, and that hopefully that fixed the ticking sound. And I think that's what that's doing, is not having the chain tension as much, or something's messing up with that. But either way, I took this head back apart because when I tried to reuse that gasket, it did not work at all. You could see there's oil everywhere. I tried to use that copper gasket spray, but it didn't work out. So yeah, I think that's the problem for the ticking. So what I'm gonna do is get new gaskets for this. I'm gonna get a new base gasket and head gasket, just because when this lifts up and you have an oil leak, it's gonna leak down to the bottom gasket. Not from the inside, but from the outside. So there's oil that's leaking down, and when you lift this cylinder up, or when you try to get the head off, you lift this up a little bit, and then bam, oil sneaks right in there. And then once you get that gasket a little wet, it's just gonna continue to leak. So I'm gonna do this the right way, make sure every gasket is new for the top end, because I don't wanna put everything together just to have this base gasket leaking or this head gasket leaking again. So yeah, I think I'm gonna cut the video there, and I'm gonna have that video up of me going over this and everything that I did to it. I put a lot of time into it, where I'm not just gonna part this out because of that head problem or something like that. I want to really finish this as a bike as a whole. And yeah, I think I found out the little problems, and we're gonna have it up and running. And once I get it up and running, the engine should be smooth. I'll go over everything, like the clearances, and then yeah, I'll go over it in the next video. So hopefully if you guys had a similar problem with the ticking noise, that kind of helped you out. Because, yeah, like these guides are very important to tensioning the chain here. And I think this is very important as well. Like, to have the spring out was definitely not a good thing. This is gonna play a big part into the ticking problem because it was backwards. And then, yeah, I think that's it. So hopefully you found it helpful. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So before I end this video, I just want to show you guys what I was talking about. You can see that there's oil all over this base gasket here. Not mainly on this side, but let me see if I can move to this side. You can see that's all oil right there. Oil on the piston. You know, it's just coated in oil. So it's just kind of telling me that I knew that was going to happen. I knew that 100% that oil was getting down here. So yeah, you can see that's pretty messed up. So yeah, if you want to check out this design while I have it off, there's a little spring right there. And then you can see that part of the spring goes all the way up. And let's see if I could hold this together here. And goes right into that hole. And then this slides up and down. So there's an adjuster on the head. Let's see if I could, right there. You put this little piece in there. Right here. And when you turn that, you're raising or lowering the position of this, and that's going to make the chain more tight or more loose. So yeah, that's pretty much how that works. Pretty interesting. Pretty cool design for a 2002. But yeah, putting this like top end together is not too fun while I'm here before I end the video. So this cam here, the way you have to put this together is on the head, is you have to put this in first, the sprocket, and then you gotta get it right where the top to the center is. And then after that, when you have that lined up, you can either put the cam in later or before, it doesn't matter. When you try to loosen the chain all the way, you're still gonna have a little tension. So you literally gotta pry this sprocket, that centerpiece, into that centerpiece. And then you have to do one bolt at a time. So you have to rotate the whole engine, put that bolt in, put that bolt in, rotate it again, and put the other bolt in. So it's just a hassle to really do this compared to most other bikes that I've worked on. The one thing that is easy on these is the clearances. Instead of having shims, you just loosen that little 9mm nut right there, turn the top to tighten or loosen it, and then that's it. You just get your clearance, your feeler gauge, and you're good to go. So that's an easy part, but putting the cam in is not too fun.